Welcome back. The TV ads for the candidates are pretty much everywhere, including during this program. The candidates are promising this and that, and they're saying all sorts of bad things about their opponents. But are these ads accurate? With us today is the state's pretty much premier claim checker, fact checker. He is Matthew Kauffman of the Hartford Courant. We thank you for being with us here today,
Sure,
Matthew.
thanks for having me.
And it's interesting because you sort of get used to these commercials after a while because they're everywhere. And in a half-hour program last night, we had about 8 of them. And all of a sudden, they're going to be gone. Wednesday, they'll be gone. So, and you rank them different ways. What are the rankings? So
the rankings are true, generally accurate, somewhat misleading, significantly misleading, and false. So something that is true is absolutely everything checks out. There's no shading. Generally accurate means essentially there's no sort of significant misleading statement in there, but there may be some context missing, some shaded language sort of thing, and then it sort of goes downhill from there.
Do we have any false ones this season?
Not this season, no, not yet.
How about completely true ones?
No, they're
really
not.
Okay,
I mean,
so they're all in the middle.
All in the middle, yeah. But above average, actually. Nothing's been frankly worse than somewhat misleading. Again, so far. But also nothing that I ranked as completely true, absolutely accurate.
Is that unusual for this year? Did we have last season? Did we have more?
Last time around where we had some more contentious congressional races, and we'll see what happens post-primary after Tuesday. But there were cases that, as the election approached, I think maybe some desperation kind of sets in there. They get a little angrier. The enmity jumps up, and look, in politics, truth is often the first casualty, and that's sort of what we see reflected often in these ads and why we do this.
What's the most misleading claim you've seen this year?
This, I'd say, again, it's generally in sort of shading language and in sort of saying things that aren't quite incorrect, but will clearly make a viewer think something else. So there's an ad suggesting, that a candidate, didn't vote, a Republican candidate didn't vote for President Trump or, Mitt Romney. And it's a candidate who didn't vote at all, was out of the country, could have voted, but did not, and things like that. There's one that, Bob Stefanowski, days before, when Hillary Clinton was running for president, he changed his affiliation to Democrat days before the election. Well, that makes it sound like he did that in order to support Hillary Clinton. You don't have to change your party affiliation in a general election, and he didn't vote at all, so it clearly wasn't for that purpose. So there are cases like that. There was an ad that David Stemmerman did called Payday Bob. Sort of Stemmerman and Stefanowski are, going at each other. That talked about, Bob's company was fined millions for this company that Stefanowski was involved in. But most of the misdeeds happened before Stefanowski was involved in the company. And that's the sort of thing that's kind of left out of the mix. A very recent one, Mark Boughton had an ad saying that David Stemmerman had donated money to Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Well, he didn't. His wife did, but he did not. And the Boughton campaign sort of said, well, that's the basis of our claim, that the wife gave money. And I think most of us who are married would say what our spouses do politically doesn't necessarily implicate me. So
well, there's Marley
that
Matlin
may be the one
and James Carville, exactly.
A perfect example, of course.
And so how did you grade that one?
So that, I think, was still just somewhat misleading. It was one element of a broader, group of claims within there.
Is there any legal recourse a candidate can take when they are, let's say, the victim of an ad that's false?
There is virtually no recourse. There's very strong, and TV, you may well know this, you may not turn down an ad, no matter how awful or false that it is. I assume someone could bring a defamation lawsuit, but again, as a public figure, the standards there are quite high. You certainly could never attempt to block the airing of an ad. Again, TV stations and the public airwaves cannot turn down political ads.
And we haven't seen it this year, but in past years we have seen rebuttal ads that will say this ad is false and it'll be taken out by that candidate.
Right. We haven't seen sort of exactly that he says this, well, here's the real truth. We did have, again, Stemmerman and Stefanowski, they have both been Democrats. They're Republicans now, both have been Democrats in the past, both have donated to Democratic candidates and causes. Stemmerman attacked Stefanowski for that, and not surprisingly, Stefanowski came back with an ad saying, well, David Stemmerman also has some, explaining to do about his political past.
So it sounds like they take a fact and they put it in the ad, and they find the black and white grimacing picture of the opponent, and then they stretch it a little bit and they insert the buzzwords that will impact the voters, like a Hillary Clinton and
Right.
whatever, and then all of a sudden they have an ad.
Yeah, sure. We had an ad that talked about David Stemmerman wants to continue Malloy's income tax. Now, if it were Weiker's income tax, you'd sort of understand that. But with Malloy's income tax kind of, staying with a candidate that is out of favor. But you're right. The black and white slow motion. That's sort of your key that they're going to be trashing that individual.
Why let facts get in the way of a good commercial, right? Matthew Kauffman of the Hartford Courant, we thank you so much for being with us today. You do some great journalism, and I know you'll have a very busy fall coming up.
I expect so. Thank
you
you
so
so much for having me.
Thank you. When we come back, what are young voters thinking about in terms of this primary, and what do they want from Connecticut? We'll ask two of them coming up, and we welcome your comments right now. You can tweet me. You can post on Instagram or find me on Facebook as well. We'll be right back.